Are you ready? If you can try and get a little bit closer to the computer, that would help.
Episode loading. Play. You are listening to Freshly Squeezed.
You can't really listen to us without going to see a live show, because I feel like we're completely different people. Like, if you spoke to me now compared to if you saw me on stage, it's two completely different people. Like, I want to make sure that our energies are just on stage is just nothing which you've seen before.
Apple.
Hello, how do? Nice to see you again. This is Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast where you can discover some of the most promising talent on the UK music scene and occasionally beyond each and every week. I'm Jim Salverson. Think of me like when you order a John Peel from Wish. I'm what you get instead, but I'll be your guide through the new music this week. Only a few episodes into this podcast, this brand new podcast, and the reaction has been amazing from both bands who want to get involved and new music fans who want to hear those fresh sounds in a world where it is becoming increasingly difficult to find support for new music. So thank you for spreading the word. Continue to do it, and if you aren't doing it already, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. Make sure you are following this podcast wherever it is you listen, so you get all the latest episodes as soon as they're ready. But on to this week. This week, you're going to get music from a lad who makes an appearance in one of the biggest films of 2025 so far. The Certs are on the podcast today.
Now we're stuck on a bed, having a one-sided conversation. Don't tell all your friends, and I fall down.
You're also going to hear from a really hot band out of a town that seems to be building a bit of a reputation for just churning out great new indie talent at the moment. The town is Wigan, the band are Barstaff. They are on the way later as well.
Overthink all the time, staying up all night, drinking bottles of wine. All the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, staying up all night, drinking bottles of wine.
But before any of that, a super talented songwriter who has gone from cutting cheese to cutting some amazing records. There's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Alexandra Leaving kicks us off with new single, Hold the Sugar.
I woke up again this morning with nothing left to say. Bring me coffee in bed, but hold the sugar. Tell me that it's okay. That dream again, the one where we were friends, and you stuck in my mind, sipping on the high life. If you'd watch the movie, I would start again. And hell, I've tried to fight it. I've never tried so hard.
That is Alexandra Leaving, and so is this. How do, Alex? You're right.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, all good. It's a sunny day here in London, so can't complain.
Spring has sprung, and as such, it was Pancake Day yesterday when we were recording this. So, important question before we get stuck into the music. What's your topping of choice?
Nutella every time.
A sweet rather than a savoury?
Well, we were having this debate yesterday. If it's savoury, I think that's more of an oatcake girl. But...
Okay. That's a subtle hint at where your background, because like you say, you're in London now, but originally you're from Shropshire way, which is kind of the origins of the oatcake. How are you finding living in the city? Do you miss the trees, the leafy Shropshire countryside?
Yeah. I think, that's my roots, and it played a huge part in my musical journey as well. Like, the West Midlands is my homeland really, but I kind of got to a point with things where I knew I had to be in London and start doing things down here. So I think my heart will always go back to the West Midlands in a way, and I do pop back quite a lot to see my family and friends. So I get a good balance overall.
In terms of kind of musical beginnings. Now, the West Midlands isn't really known for the amount of bands it's produced. I guess I kind of say that tentatively. Do you find yourself influenced by the bands that kind of you grew up around, or have the inspirations come from elsewhere?
I think it's a really good point, Jim. Like, a lot of bands from the West Midlands and historically kind of feel that it's an underrepresented area and there could be more on the music scene. You know, it's the second city and there's a lot of amazing music in and around Birmingham and the West Midlands that kind of doesn't get the airtime or opportunities. So I kind of grew up not necessarily listening to artists from the area, but I was always aware of Robert Plant because the story was that he was in everyone's local pub, basically. I've always been a bit of a Led Zeppelin girl. But in terms of my influences, my mum and dad both played a part in that. My mum was sort of into Kate Bush, Enya, more like ethereal, imaginative artists. And then my dad, I just remember him always playing the Moody Blues in the car. Like, do you know that song Nights in White Satin?
Yes.
And it's just like quite a haunting, strange song to expose, a child to in the car. But I think that's where guitars kind of seeped into my bloodstream. He was into like Dire Straits and the Beatles and Elton John and stuff. So I think I got a bit of a rock and roll heart from that.
Those musical beginnings, I think I can definitely hear, particularly in this new tune. And you've described your musical genre as a genre, I don't know if you've made this up because I've never heard it before. Cloud rock, is that your thing?
That is my thing.
Okay.
I think it's like what I'm trying to describe is essentially a rock sound that has sensibilities that are around the fringes softer. I'm a sucker for like a gritty guitar world, but then having this softness at the fringes. And I think, cloud rock just randomly came to me and I was like, yeah, that works.
Nice, I like it. So the song we're featuring today on Freshly Squeezed is called Hold the Sugar, and it does feel like a slight change of pace from what's come before. Like if you hold it up against something like Conversation Killer or My Sunshine, it's more stripped back, it's a bit more subdued, maybe even vulnerable. Why the gear shift on this new one?
So the story with Hold the Sugar is that I wrote this song 2 years ago and I just quit like a corporate job and decided to throw myself into being a musician and became a part-time cheesemonger, actually. But that's a whole other story.
That's a story I want to hear. That's much more interesting than any of the stuff I was going to talk about.
Yeah. It was definitely a gear shift, talking of gear shifts. And I kind of had more space, really, for my writing. And at the time had been through quite a turbulent and difficult relationship. And emerging out of that, I wrote this song about what I saw as like a kind of toxic cycle. And I wanted to represent that in the song, having these softer, lighter verses and having this depth that just continues to build and build. And when we were in the studio, we recorded it in South London with a guy called Jacko here. He's amazing. And he just had this real like guitar world that he built, layers of guitars and different instruments. We even had like a vintage harmonium in there, which has almost like an abrasive quality in the mix. And it was just really interesting to explore how you could contrast those big, heavier sections with what felt like quite vulnerable sections. From a narrative perspective, it is about waking up each morning and, sort of with the pun of wake up and smell the coffee in a way. It's like you struggle to face the reality of what feels inevitable in many ways. And I think it was a very therapeutic song to write. And the weird thing was, Jim, that I recorded it and then just, I felt like it was like this exorcism of how I felt. And then I just hid it. I just shut it away. I was like, do you know what? It's not right. Let's just play some rock and roll. And that was the trajectory. Because, when you're playing live, you want that energy, you want that joy and that feeling. And then this song just never left me, really. And I had a quieter period over the last few months. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe it's time. And the response really has been, ironically, it's been amazing. And I sort of thought, well, maybe this was about timing and, it deserves to be heard. So it's really amazing to hear the response from people who've had similar situations. But this song to me it was mine. It was something I'd written in a time where, I'll openly say I was not in a good space, and I didn't write the song with any intention. I kind of just wrote it because it was this really intense feeling I had at the time. And I think for that reason, I almost didn't want to release it, because I suppose it's the equivalent of being in a therapy session and then just your whole notes being exposed to the world kind of thing. And that did scare me. I've never put out a song that is this vulnerable and this sort of storytelling about what was a very real situation for me. But so often as songwriters, you can get caught up in what's a catchy line, or how does this rhyme, or what am I writing for an audience, And I think ultimately you have to bring it back to what do you want to say? And if you're putting out something that's true to you, that is the real connection. And this song has just been a real testament to that.
I think it's the authenticity of it that makes it such a captivating song. You can hear the honesty and you can hear the vulnerability. And for me, I think that's why it works so well.
Oh, thank you.
You've had some really great support so far in your musical career over the last year, particularly. You've had Mr. New Music John Kennedy supporting your stuff. Radio 1 have backed your tunes as well. You're inching towards 100,000 streams online. Do you keep on having these like pinch yourself moments where you kind of go, hang on, is this real? I'm not a cheesemonger anymore. I'm a musician. This is happening.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think you ever get used to it really. And there's been people who've championed me, especially over the past year. And I just feel so grateful for that. I feel so grateful for the John Kennedys of this world. Chris Hawkins on Six Music has always supported me as well. And I think the more you kind of build momentum, you realise these are milestones, these are really important. And you do pinch yourself a little bit when you think, like 100,000 streams, like what the hell? Even though that's for like a cup of coffee these days, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, and I think so much of that is important, and then it's balanced by what is probably the most rewarding part for me, which is being able to play live and just really connect with people, meet new fans. And that's like the lifeblood of what we do as artists. It's like when you're in that arena and you're playing live, like that's talking about vulnerability, that's your real moment. So I'm grateful for everything that's happening, really. It feels like a bit of a roller coaster sometimes, but I'm glad I'm not chopping cheese anymore, basically.
Just the start. Alex, really nice to speak to you. Absolutely love the new tune as well, Hold My Sugar. I get these smoky 70s kind of Jefferson Airplane vibes from it, which I think are really, really cool. I could hear it on a soundtrack to Apocalypse Now or something like that. So thank you very much for your time. Lovely to talk to you. Cheers for joining me on Freshly Squeezed.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
Freshly Squeezed.
Right, next on Freshly Squeezed, let's welcome a band who were once Barstaff and now they're a band called Barstaff. It's Barstaff, the band. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Really nice to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me. So we had Parlours on the podcast recently. I don't know if you're familiar with Parlours, but they're another band who used to work behind a bar, and they've named themselves after the bar they used to work in, the Parlour. So if you, as a band, had taken that approach, what would your band name actually have ended up being?
It would have been a bit of a mouthful, actually. It would be Doc Symposium.
That feels like a kind of country vibe. If you'd gone down that route, you'd have to have that going on with your music.
Well, that's mad because, like, when we worked there, the guy that owned it was actually in a country band. Kira, do you remember what it was called?
They had a name that was like a pun on like a place in Wigan. So were they called the Roby Millbillies? Something like that.
The Roby Millbillies. Right, I'm straight on Spotify after this to have a look for that. But it's great to have you on the pod. You've got a bit of a reputation as a band already, not just for your super catchy indie tunes, but also as a band that like to put on a bit of a show, like to have a bit of a laugh when you're on stage. Is that coming from a place where you just absolutely love doing what you're doing, or have you made a conscious effort to go, look, we're going to make people feel like we're having fun when we're putting on shows?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, it's one of them, especially when you go see artists, it's like, if you can tell that the band is having a laugh and having fun, I think that can be infectious at times. But like the silly ideas and stuff, like they'll come up while we're in practice and go, wouldn't it be funny if, and then we end up having fishing rods at the last gig. Or
I think as well, like subconsciously at the start, kind of like joke that like we're not exactly like the best technically when it comes to like playing instruments and like singing and stuff, but we all
Go sell yourself, Ben. That's it. Nice one. We're not great, but we have a good time doing it.
No, but like I think when we started off, like there was that lack of like, especially for me, like as a frontman, there was like lack of confidence. So you kind of like mask it by like being a bit silly and not taking yourself seriously. And I think it's like become this stable thing where when we kind of realized that people liked it, we've just started playing on it. So now we do like daft stuff like playing darts on stage, or like Byron said, getting fishing rods, and like try to like incorporate stuff visually on stage and make it more of kind of like a show rather than just listening to music.
So 2 years as a band, 2 EPs under your belt so far. 2025, is this the year that we might get a debut album, or are you not quite ready for that step yet?
I don't think we're necessarily looking at an album. We're definitely doing a lot. We're definitely releasing a lot, but we've got a very like strict idea in our head of what we're doing with it, without giving like too much away. But there's definitely like not an album on the cards anytime soon, but there's definitely a lot of music and a lot of projects and like a lot more fun with it. So yeah, a lot coming this year.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing the new stuff as and when it comes. For the time being, the focus is on the brand new tune, Hell No, I'm in Love. Hannah Mazey, you've got as a guest on this one. How did that come about? Did you know Hannah, or did you just hear her tunes and kind of go, yeah, we'll have a bit of that, that'll work for this tune?
She just kept knocking on Ben's door, didn't she?
I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
No, I didn't think you did.
So me and Hannah are actually in a relationship. We've been together for like 2.5 years, and we've wrote music together for a while. I don't even think it was planned, but we were all just in a practice room together, and I had this like chord progression that I've been working on, and Kira had like a few like vocal melodies and stuff, and Hannah came up with a few vocal melodies, and we had a few of Hannah's band members there as well, and it just kind of came together in like one afternoon. And this was a while ago now. This was like probably over a year ago, and we kind of just had it like in the backlogs, and it just felt like the right time now to get it out, because it's kind of a different style to what we've done in the past, and I feel like the music that we're making and we're releasing at the minute is definitely like a new direction for the band. So yeah, it was perfect time, and I think we've got a good synergy with Hannah, so it felt right.
You'd have to hope you'd had a good synergy. There's many more problems than just with the music. Yeah, as you say, it's different to your previous stuff. So I was curious, what happens if like this new sound kind of really catches and you get a load of new fans? Is that then the pivot moment? Does this become the kind of new blueprint for Barstaff going forward?
I think it already kind of is. Like, obviously, what was doing well for us was like our indie tunes, but we all listen to like such a huge like array of genres, and me and Ben especially listen to like a lot of like R&B and soul and jazz and things like that, and it's something that we've wanted to get into, things that we've been writing. You grow as a person, what you listen to changes, and then that influences what you write. So I think just like maybe like the past year, me and Ben especially have just been on a roll of like not overthinking our songs and overthinking things that we're coming up with, and just getting them down, getting them onto a track. And we've seen like good success from that. Like that's what happened with Izzy, which we released in January, and that did really well. And we're seeing it again with Hell No and Love, and people saying to me like, oh, it's just so catchy, like your new stuff's just so catchy. And it's because we've not overthought it. Like we've just sat down, written it, and got it out. So this is definitely like the way we want to go forward, I think. You
have said previously that this tune kind of blurs genre lines, which is going to make this next bit a little bit difficult for you, I think. But Sherlock Holmes has like his mind palace where he stores information, and he kind of enters his mind palace and pulls out information, and he uses that to solve crimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a mind palace. I've got a mind HMV. So it's like a record shop in my head where I store and categorize music. And I'd like you to follow me inside my mind HMV, please.
All right. Right behind you.
Here we are. What do you think of the place? Do you like it?
It's lovely. Could do a bit of a dusting. But
I was about to say
Yeah, fair enough. Cleaning's not my strong point. So we've got to find your tune within my mind HMV so we can get it on Freshly Squeezed. So first job, you can see up there, genre categories hanging from the ceiling. Which section are we going to head to?
That is tough. That is tough. I don't even know if like this is a category, but like indie R&B would be where I'd put Hell No in Love, but I don't even think that's a category. We just made that up.
No, it's over there. It's over there in the corner, back left. You can see it over there. Indie
Oh,
R&B.
yeah, spot it now.
Is that where we're heading? Are we going there?
I didn't have my glasses on, unless someone disagrees.
No, I'd say that.
Right, I said over there. So here you can see all the records that are in this section. If you look elsewhere, you can see I do things a little bit differently in my mind HMV. Rather than just listing things alphabetically, I do it by order of influences. So over there in that corner, we've got Cortinas and you've got Lilacs next to them. And over there, you've got the Beatles and obviously Oasis next to the Beatles there. So I want you to pick the two artists that you want this record to nestle between. Where are we going to put it?
Oh, that's a great question.
That is a great question.
Don't know if you'll agree, but I mean, I think we always sound like Easy Life. Mainly because Ben looks like the lead singer of Easy Life.
He does.
But what's the song that Easy Life have with Arlo Parks? That specific song.
Yeah, Sangria.
Sangria, yeah. That specific song. Both of those artists in that specific song. That's what it screams to me.
Okay, so we've got that on one side. We need someone to go on the other side.
So the influence for the track actually like initially was a song by Lol Kana called Angel. And I don't know, like, I feel like you could kind of sit it next to that track because it's got Lol Kana's like lazy rapping and then you've got Tom Misch like doing some nice vocals on it. I think I'm gonna, even though that's definitely more towards like a hip hop vibe, it's still got the jazzy R&B elements. So I'm gonna pick Lol Kana, I think.
We'll bang it in there. I wouldn't worry too much because the kids will come in a bit and they'll mess everything up and it'll be all out of place. So it'll only be there temporarily, but all good. Hell No in Love is there, and let's give it a spin on Freshly Squeezed. Barstaff, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your eyes are blue, we disagreed. In my head, I'm still 17. Wanna get married secretly, even though we're scared of commitment. The friends say you ain't you, been told that means that you want to. Maybe come kick it with me too, even though we're scared of commitment. Does that sound cool to you? Loving you from a distance, even though my head's telling me that I'll miss this. Think we need to stop this, got me in your pocket. Say you wanna be single like it's rockets. Look, 3 a.m. so I'll stop what I'm saying, cause if this is the end then I'll just stop. Cause I'm in a rut with this feeling in my gut. The distance that we took weren't enough, and you know that. I tried and I tried, oh I tried and I tried. Said that it felt right, but I lied, but I lied, but I lied. And I tried and I tried, tried and I tried, said that it felt right. I guess that I lied.
Right, so it's time to head to Hollywood and chat to the headline star of the brand new Bridget Jones movie, The Certs, or Carter Elvis Robinson as otherwise known. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. Nice to speak to you. So, Bridget Jones, I may be over-egging the pudding slightly in terms of being the star of the new film, but what's the story there?
Well, my mum, she was working with the director of the film. He has a daughter called Rose. Shout out to her. She's a lovely girl. And she's inspiring to be a musician as well. She had no experience within a studio. And at that time, I was in the studio. And I remember I was currently recording my song, The Limit, from my EP. And to put a long story short, my mum told him to bring the daughter into the studio. She did. She had a great time. She did some vocals. And eventually it got to the point in the film where they needed someone to play the busker. And Rose, she actually suggested me. So went on set, did the scene, met everyone, and had a great time.
So keep an eye out if you get to see the film at any point. Did you get to do the whole red carpet thing?
Yeah. The London premiere of the film. The world premiere actually, but based in London, of course. I saw Leo Woodall again. Very nice guy. actually noticed that I had my braces on.
Very cool. So as I said in the intro, you are the Certs, but ultimately it's you when you're in the studio. That's why it's the Certs. It's a kind of play on your name and your initials, Carter Elvis Robinson. So why perform under the Certs? Why not perform under Carter Elvis Robinson? Because let's face it, it's a pretty rock and roll name.
Well, thank you. But when I started like this whole music journey, like the one thing I always wanted to do was in a band. So I'd always been like workshopping band names and everything. And I knew at some point I'd just try and find the right people. And I'd been through this massive process where I met a few people and actually played with them. Some things wrong here and there. And I didn't really find anyone that worked out. So when it got to the time to like where I actually had an entire summer to myself, I was like, right, I'm going to do everything myself right now. And when I get to this new college, I restarted a year in college because the first one wasn't exactly for me. But I recorded it all by myself, released it. But when I got to this second college, I actually found my current band members, and they were completely fine with the name The Certs because I think it's quite catchy. I think it's quite cool. It's different. So yeah, I always wanted to be in a band, and now I actually have them, which I'm incredibly thankful for.
Do you think you'll ever get to a point, because I know you are the creative force, you play all the instruments when you're in the studio, do you think you'll get into a place where the band are kind of bought into that creative process, or in your head is it kind of like it's your project?
Yeah. Well, recently with the song we released for Bridget Jones, Turn Back, they recorded some of the instruments, like our drummer did the drums, and that was more of a group recording for the song I wrote. Okay. But we've also been writing loads of other songs. I mean, it's me and the guitarist Amos. We kind of write all the songs with the band, obviously with our drummer and bassist writing their own parts. But we recently released a song called Repetition on Spotify, where that's actually originally started by Amos and then finished by me and him. So the recording, it's now incorporated with everyone in it.
So I'm going to play Repetition in a minute on Freshly Squeezed. It was recorded in Abbey Road Studios, and sometimes people say when they're in buildings like that you can feel the history. When you were recording, did you kind of like feel that there was John Lennon looking over your shoulder or something like that when you were putting the tunes together?
Well, it wasn't actually recorded in Abbey Road Studios. It was recorded in Old Chapel Studio, and mastered in Abbey Road Studio. So, I mean, to have that from Abbey Road is it's pretty cool to think about, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got a real kind of like punky rawness to it, that tune, I think. A load of energy in it, which I really like as well. Is that something that's important to you in the recording process, kind of capturing the live energy that maybe you have during your live gigs?
Because one thing about like us as a band, which I thoroughly make sure of, is that you can't really listen to us without going to see a live show, because I feel like we're completely different people. Like if you spoke to me now compared to if you saw me on stage, it's two completely different people. Like I want to make sure that our energies are just not on stage is just nothing which you've seen before.
Nice. And I know, speaking of live gigs, I know your dad Clive is there in the background. Hi Clive, how are we doing?
Hi.
Speaking to Clive, you're looking for live gigs at the moment. There's a bit of a challenge because you're 18, but a lot of your bandmates are. So you're kind of looking for venues that will accommodate you. So bit of a shout out to promoters, venues who might be listening, might want new exciting bands for their showcase. You're the man. How do people get in touch with you?
They can contact us at literally contact@thecertsofficial.com, or you can contact us on Instagram, which is @Certs Official. We've got a gig on the 29th of March. We're actually supporting, pronounce it correctly, the Foo Fighters. They're the UK's biggest and best Foo Fighter tribute band. So they've reached out and we're going to be supporting them at the Holroyd in Guildford on the 29th of March. So should be a massive crowd for that and a good turnout. So
I absolutely love tribute bands and the names they come up with. Where I am in Manchester, there's a fella, he's of Asian descent and he does Elvis songs and he's called himself Patelvis, which I just think is absolute genius. But we're not here to talk about him. We're talking about the Certs. It's lovely to have you on Freshly Squeezed. Thank you very much for joining us. I think what you're doing is really exciting. You are up there with the most exciting, young, promising bands in the UK at the moment. So the Certs, Carter, thanks for joining me on Freshly Squeezed.
Thanks for having me.
The Certs and Repetition finishing off this episode of Freshly Squeezed. Thanks for listening. Cheers for your ears. Make sure you're following, subscribed, all the normal stuff to help us raise awareness of this podcast and keep it going as well. If you've not reviewed yet or added a rating in your podcast app, please do that too. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much to the 3 bands that appeared on today's podcast. The Certs you just heard, Barstaff, who are incredible, Alexandra Leaving as well. The links to their tunes, if you want to do some further listening, are in the podcast description as always. It's also where you'll find more music from Spin Class, the purveyors of such tunes as what you hear in the background now. The theme tune to this podcast is called Blue Blazer, and it is just scratching the surface of what they have on offer. Links in the podcast descriptions. I'll see you back here next week, same time, same place, but right now I'm off to pick and squeeze some brand new music. See you soon.
Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and hosted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McGinley. Theme music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.